Culture is a word that I've been hearing in the media lately. And according to the Globe, there are many different cultures around the world. We have the African culture, we have Mexico culture, we have, oh my goodness, the islands of culture. We have the United States culture, which is a melting pot. There's many different cultures around the world lives in the United States. But today in our Candid Talk, I want to share with you some of the cultures that I've been exposed with. And maybe something that I say may bring harmony into your world. So we'll be right back right after this commercial. Welcome back, everyone, to our Candid Talk. Today we're going to talk about culture. And I've been hearing that word a lot in media. And also the other day I was looking at the map and I want to travel around the world. And I wanted to make sure that I understood the culture and the places that I wanted to go. Make sure that I know the do's and don'ts, the food that they eat, the colors that they respect, the terminology, the hand raises, those things. I needed to be respectful in the country because, the United States, we're a melting pot. Every country is probably here in the United States. But what I want to share about my exposure with culture is when I was 18, coming right out of high school, and then I went into taking college classes at night. So I worked a full-time job at an electronics department. And the electronics department, we built printed circuit boards where the product was emergency lights, exit signs, and at the time, during the summer, the United States made a contract agreement with corporations to allow different nationalities of people who were living in camps to come work. And we were one of the companies that got chosen for them to come work with us. So we had different Asians, which I've never been exposed to Asian culture before. We had a few Korea. We had several Vietnamese people. We had a Japanese and we had Laos. Now I've never been exposed to Laos. I didn't even know Laos was on the map. But we had someone that was from that country. And at the time, the electronics department was just one room and we all worked together. But because we was having different people from nationalities, we had to separate the department into teams. And my manager decided to give me a team. I don't know why. I'm just coming out of high school. I haven't been working there very long. And she gave me a team of 7 Vietnamese women, which I was looking like, really? Yeah, I had an attitude. I did, because I wasn't familiar with the culture. I wasn't familiar with the people. And I promise y'all, I just got checked inside in my inward. And what I heard, it says, people could think about you that way. And it checked me so quick. And I had to look at them as they were me and I was them, And I had to change my attitude real quick. Some people say they take a long time changing attitude. No, mine was real quick because it was very aggressive, that check to, people can think about you the same way. I'm like, ooh, 18 years old being checked like that. But nevertheless, so I'm responsible for 7 Vietnamese women who speak fluent Vietnamese and broken English. And so because of the electronics department, you receive this blueprint of the product, which means you need to understand what parts to pull, how many parts to pull, and this is what the blueprint is and what we're building and how many we're building. And so I was responsible to make sure that it had to be accurate because it was inventory. Because if it wasn't accurate, inventory would be off, and then they will find out that it will be our team the reason why the inventory was off. So I had to be accurate. So here I am teaching them how to read the blueprint to make sure that the parts are being pulled correctly. Because I wasn't going to pull the parts every time because there's 8 of us. I had to explain to them how to do that. And plus it would made my life easier for them to all understand how to read the blueprint as best as I could explain it in English and to kind of, come together with their language. Well, nevertheless, so they're part of my team, and I'm trying to get used to working with people who speak Vietnamese all day long. I'm in school, so every morning I come in at 7 to 4. They speak their language from the very time we get into the department. I'm just getting out of school at 12 midnight. They speak in language at 7 to 4 all day, non-stop, no English. I'm just over there by myself looking really silly, but it didn't matter because I was studying my classes. And one day, all of a sudden, the language stopped, just immediately just abrupt. And I stopped and I said, what in the world just happened? They all looking at me. I said, what? Sonya, first time. And then we've been working together for maybe a month. First time they called my name, Sonya. I said, what? The parts are not, the product's not passing. I said, it better be passing. It's not passing. I said, how many have we built? 100. I said, oh no, stop production. I'm like, had to stop my studying. I said, stop production right now. Get the blueprint, and and I'm having them to read out everything so we can make sure by one board to find out what's going on. I said, tell me, is the LED turned right? Is the resistors right? Because on a printed circuit board, they have tons of resistors. I said, is the 100 watt and the 10 100 watt and the 10 watt is the same colors because they were similar in colors. I said, what about the 10 resistors and the 100 resistors? The 10 resistors and 100 resistors, I can still remember this. It's black, brown, and black. And then the 100 resistor is black, brown. So there was a similar on the board. I said, they said, that's correct. I said, okay. I said, what about the battery? Is it correct? Yeah, it's passing. I said, okay, what about the wires? Yellow wire, 6 inches. Blue wire, 6 inches. Red wire, 6 inches. I said, what? How long is the red wire? 8. I said, how many 8 wide red wires do we have in the board? 100. I said, okay. I said, the supervisor will be back in 40 minutes. I said, that's 30 minutes plus 10 minutes. He's like, oh my God. I said, calm down, for y'all, get over there and just, start desoldering. I said, because we got to save the red 8-inch wires, because otherwise production and inventory is going to be off. You got to save it. Do not mess that wire up. I said, just save it. We'll use it in another product. They panicking, 4 of them, is doing that. I said, I'm going to get the red, white, 6-inch wire. I said, oh my God. I said, we're going to be in trouble. I said, we're going to do this, So I run and get the part, for them. We come back and we all working together trying to get this board fixed, the red wire. Thank God it was just only the red wire and not a resistor, because it would have just been traumatic. It was, ugh. But, so here we are. And so we finally get the wire together and everything, and I'm testing the wire and testing the board, and it passed. All 100 passed. And I'm thinking, oh my God. But while we were fixing the board, all of a sudden there's no talking. There's not English talking. There isn't any Vietnamese talking. This is the first time they actually was silent. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. They're quiet. They're not saying anything. They're in panic mode. And I said, wow. So after we passed the board and everything, and it was fixed, and my supervisor never found out, inventory was never off because we saved the 8-inch wire. And I asked them, could we make a deal? I explained to them, I said, I'm in school at night, you guys. And I said, I get out of school at 12 and I have to come in here at 7. Could we make a deal that you speak English from 7 to 10? Just give me that gap. And then from 10, you can do whatever you want. I said, okay, Sean, okay. And from 7 to 10 every day, they spoke English. But what I noticed while they were speaking English, they were going back and forth studying and testing at each other. And I didn't know they were in school. They were actually studying. The reason why they was talking so much every day, they were studying for the citizenship for the United States. We're all in school. They had no idea I was in college either. And so because of the culture, they were being exposed. It was so funny. we began to study and learn together. And I was teaching them some of the words, and they were teaching me some of the things that's on the citizenship and what they had to go through. And they was talking to me about the camp that they had to live, the type of environment that they had to live coming over, and some of the experiences that they exposed. I asked them questions, about taxes, because the thought was that they didn't pay taxes. They showed me their pay stub, they paid taxes. This pay stub was no different than mine, because they did not understand what was the difference. They told me that the United States gave them $100. That's what they was, because I was asking questions, and they were asking questions about the African American culture. And I asked them questions about the cultures of Vietnamese, and I asked them questions about China, and different things that I had been hearing that may have been false, and they cleared up a lot of things. But what I was learning about the different cultures, and this is the first time, and it's funny, because I was glad. In the beginning, I was not glad, because I didn't know what was going to transpire, but after being around Vietnamese and learning and just understanding their cultures and understanding their ways, they began to understand our cultures, because there are some things that they were thinking about that wasn't true about African Americans and about America. And so a lot of that was cleared up because of me being opened after I was checked, and they were being open after they messed up. It was like this whole scenario was it was good that everything, the board was messed up, and me having been checked in my spirit about how I was looking at them. But what happened, it brought a friendship between the two different cultures. They began to start trusting me. They would come in and they would speak. I can tell when things would go on in their life that was not good, because they get very aggressive and loud and talking, and I would have to ask them what is going on. And a lot of times, this is something that I experienced. This may not be for anybody else, but this is something that I experienced, that they dealt with racism as well. They would come in and they would be so upset about some of the things that the companies that they were dealing with, as far as I guess bills and things like that, would be overcharging them, and they would bring it to me, and I would have to look at it, and I would have to call the companies for them and speak on their behalf, because their English was broken up, and they were taking advantage of them, and I would have to kind of talk to the bill people for them to find out why was racism being involved, why were they being overcharged, and they would have to change it to what it's supposed to be. These are the things that I experienced with culture. And some of the things that I learned is the different foods. They were teaching me how to cook their food. They would buy woks and their equipment for me, like for gifts, and they were teaching me how to make real Chinese food, real Vietnamese food, real egg rolls and things like that. They were teaching me. They also wanted American food. I will always have to make spaghetti for them. They wanted spaghetti for some strange reason, and they wanted spicy. They loved American spaghetti and spicy foods that I would have to make pots of it, And this is some of the things that I dealt with culture. But what really brought us closer is that moment when they had an oopsie. They thought they were going to get in trouble. And I think maybe, perhaps, that they began to trust me because I did not tell on them. I just had to say, listen, save those wires, because I was still responsible for them. I was still responsible for the product. But I would have been in trouble if they were in trouble, because we were part of a team. But that was that was my culture experience, my culture shock at early 18. And they all passed the citizenship. You guys, the citizenship test, unless you are a social study major, they have questions on that test. Well, that was back in the day. that they would ask me. I was like, that's on the I would tell them, I said, some of us Americans probably wouldn't even pass that test. This is my experience now, so don't get mad if I say that. But they would go back and forth. They had to learn a lot of social study. They had to learn a lot of things about American history. And at the same time, I was learning about their history and why they were over here in the first place and what happened. I remember speaking with one young lady, and she was speaking about her husband. She's married in the United States. That her husband was actually married in the country, and then he had to leave abruptly. I don't know why. And but just different understanding. How did they teach their children the English language, and just a lot of little things. But it bridged the gap with me being open going forward. Now that I'm able to understand and be a little bit more adapt to different cultures, to be at ease because of the experience. I think that if I would not have experienced that, I probably would be a stiff neck with that. I saw the sensitivity, I saw the strength, I saw their way of living. I saw that they taught me a lot about savings and how they save. They taught me about their culture, about when they get married. When they get married, and I remember we had a couple in our department who were dating and they got married. Their family bought them a house, paid off, free, and then they gave them a big lump sum of money so they can start off that way, which was amazing. I couldn't understand how they, but they were teaching me a lot of things. And but that's what I want to talk about in culture. I didn't mean for this video to be that long, but I wanted to be transparent about different cultures, because I think that we can learn so much from each other if we understand the different cultures. Culture could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be in race. It could be in a different work environment. It could have a culture. Whatever that is, culture is determined by one person. I call it the ambassador of the ambassador of a place. And an ambassador of a place could be the governor. It could be a manager or a vice president, not the CEO, but the vice president of a company, or different. And it shapes the culture of the place, that everyone would operate and work in that heartbeat, that culture of the place, that same rhythm, the same attitude, the same zeal and excitement. But it is so important that we learn about different cultures, and there would be more acceptance of each other when we have disagreements. It won't be such a hardship. But that's what I want to talk about in different cultures, and I can't talk today, you guys. My exposure, you guys, it was a culture shock for me. But I got through it, and I learned a lot. And I think about them. We had some good years working together, good laughs, good arguments, good mess ups. But overall, it was a win-win on both the 7 Vietnamese ladies and myself. They taught me the alphabets of how to speak Vietnamese, but it was very cultural for me. It was very cultural educated for me. But that's what I want to talk about today, you guys, and I hope that you think about some of the things, some of the cultures that you've been exposed to, and just kind of reminisce and just think how it blessed you and how much you learned and how much that you can just reevaluate how we can make this thing work going forward in 2020. But that's what I want to talk about today, you guys. If you want to hear this message again, you always can go to our YouTube page at Sonya Buchanan, and I am going to post this video on my social media Facebook account. And until next time, this is your girl with Confident Promises Broadcast. Bye, you guys.
We
hope you enjoyed our broadcast for today. For more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel by clicking on subscribe. Then click on the notification button that you will be notified when we upload videos each week. Until next time, this is Comfort and Promises Broadcast.